Alright, good afternoon everybody. It's your boy Akeen and welcome to today's vlogs. Here to continue with my grades for each team for their selections of the 2015 NFL Draft. For this vlog, I'm going to head up north and talk about the NFC North Division. Starting things off with the Bears of Chicago. Now they actually had a decent draft. I have to actually give them a B overall. Start with their first round pick, Kevin White, the wide receiver coming out of West Virginia. Now this is going to be a great addition to replace Brandon Marshall. The second round pick, they went with Eddie Goldman, the defensive tackle out of Florida State. Now they struggled last season against the run on defense, and they didn't have any premier pass rushers. Like I kind of was a little disappointed in Jared Allen, his performance. He only had 5.5 sacks last season. But I think with the addition of Eddie Goldman, I think this would definitely help out the defensive line. In the third round, they went with Harness Grasu, the center coming out of Oregon. This definitely will help address things in the offensive line. That's what they were actually looking forward to picking up during this draft. In the fourth round, this was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. Jeremy Langford, the running back coming out of Michigan State. Now he is a great running back, but I think that Kadeem Curry could be a decent backup for Matt Forte for the next upcoming seasons. In the fifth round, they finally started to try to address the secondary with safety Adrian Amos out of Penn State. Out of Penn State. I think this is the okay selection. And in the sixth round, they went with Tayo Fabulu, the offensive tackle coming out of Texas Christian. Now, I think even with the addition of Antero Rolle, I still think they should try to address the secondary of that defense. And they still have Tim Jennings, but he's actually getting older in age. And I think that is a major concern. They should have tried to get a cornerback during this year's draft. And because of that, that's why I had to give them a B. If they had picked up a solid corner, I think they could have went with the corner in the fourth round instead of picking Jeremy Langford. I think that could definitely help out their draft grade overall, but they still had a solid B, decent picks this season. Next team, the Detroit Lions. This is another team that had a B in my opinion. They had to go for, they should aimed for a defensive tackle, a cornerback, address the offensive line, a running back, and a wide receiver possibly to help out on both Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate, two good tandems in that receiving corps. At the first round, they went with offensive guard and Laken Tomlinson out of Duke. I think this was an interesting selection. I think they should have tried to aim for him in the second round, but who knows? He possibly could have went gone by the time they had their second round selection. So they went to go address an offensive guard in this one to address the offensive line. I think this was a decent selection. In the second round, they went with Amir Abdullah, the running back coming out of Nebraska. Now, I think this was going to be a great pickup to replace Reggie Bush, who is now with my San Francisco 49ers. And I think that he could definitely split well the carries with Joique Bell, who's actually been signed to, I think, to a couple more seasons for the Detroit Lions. In the third round, they addressed the secondary, and they went with Alex Carter, the cornerback out of Stanford. I think this is going to be a great pickup. Definitely upgraded a lot that secondary for the Lions. In the fourth round, this is an interesting selection. Gabe Bright, the defensive tackle out of Auburn. Now, they did sign Haloti Ngata from the Baltimore Ravens. That is going to be a great addition to replace Ndamukong Suh. And I think that Ngata could definitely address things out and help out with Wright and learning more the defensive tackle position. I remember watching Gabe Wright during high school, watching his clips, and he was actually one of my top prospects before he went to Auburn. Had a little bit of a disappointing career. I wish he had a little bit better, but still picked in the fourth round. In the fifth round, the Detroit Lions went with Mike Burton, the fullback coming out of Rutgers. He's 5'11", 242 pounds. I think he could be an excellent lead blocker and even give you some tough short yardage plays like those 1 yard inches plays that they can use in like 4th and 1 situations or 3rd and 1 situations. In the sixth round, they also addressed the secondary with my Texas Longhorn, Quandre Diggs. I think this was a great pick in this round. This kid actually had 37 pass breakups and 11 interceptions during his career as a Longhorn. I think this is a great pick, especially in the sixth round. And with their final pick, they went with Corey Robinson, the offensive tackle coming out of South Carolina. Now, overall for their selections, I have to give them a B as well. Like the Chicago Bears, the Thomason pick, I think they could have waited for the second round, but I understand with the first round selection. I kind of wish they did go with a wide receiver to help out give another weapon for Matthew Stafford, and that's the reason why I have to give him a B. But the rest of their selections are solid picks. Next team, the Minnesota Vikings. I think they had a great draft. Starting with their first round selection, they went with Trey Waynes. That was the exact pick that I had hand selected for the Vikings, coming out of Michigan State, the cornerback. In the second round, they stuck with the defensive side and went with linebacker Eric Kendricks. I think he will be an excellent replacement to be the predecessor of Chad Greenway at middle linebacker. In the third round, they went with Daniel Hunter, the defensive end out of LSU. Now, actually, Minnesota's rush defense was actually 25th in the league, so they're definitely going to have to address the defensive line, and I think this was a good selection. Now, Hunter is not a premier pass rusher, but he could definitely be a good run stopper and help the rush defense for Minnesota. In the fourth round, I think this was an excellent pick, possibly a steal, and TJ Clemmings, the offensive tackle out of Pitt. Now, in some eyes, including myself, I even have him in the first round until he had that fractured tibia, but I still think he could bounce back, and I think this was an excellent selection, particularly in the fourth round. In the fifth round, I think this is a sleeper at the tight end position, and Michael Pruitt, the tight end coming out of Southern Illinois. I think this is a great selection. Kyle Rudolph has not been playing up to par and up to the height that I believe that he could play into. He did make it to one Pro Bowl, but I think that Pruitt could definitely outperform him. He definitely has a chance. I believe that Rudolph only had 261 yards last season. They're definitely going to have to use a good tight end to help out Teddy Bridgewater in the passing game. And speaking of the passing game, sticking in the fifth round, they went with an excellent receiver coming out of Maryland and Stephon Diggs. And yes, I have to say he is excellent. I've seen him personally play in high school for Good Counsel High School. I think this is a great athlete. He can definitely be used in special teams as well, and I think he will be a great part of the receiving corps with Cordero Patterson, as well as with the addition of Mike Wallace from the Miami Dolphins. In the sixth round, they went with Tyrus Thompson, another offensive tackle, this one out of South Carolina. I think this was a solid selection in the sixth round. Sticking in the sixth round, PJ Du Bois, the defensive end out of Louisville. I think this was a pretty good pickup. He does have a good size in him, but as far as his skills, he needs to improve a little bit more as far as using more pass rushing moves and even using more different techniques to evade the blockers to get to the ball carrier. In the seventh round, they went with Austin Shepard. That was a decent selection, and Edmund Robinson. That was an okay pick. Both of these two players will be fighting for a spot in the 53-man roster. Now, overall, for my grade for the Vikings, I have to give them an A-. I really like their picks. Just about all of them heading towards the seventh round, but the seventh round, hey, you got to just pick up players, and I think that one of these two players can possibly make the 53-man roster, talking about Shepard and Robinson. But for their first pick, particularly with their first picks in the up to the sixth round, I think they had excellent selections, so I have to go with an A- in this one. Not the best, but still pretty good selections. I have to give them an A- for even trying to address just about every area except for possibly in another top-notch running back, just in case if Adrian Peterson is no longer with the team. Finally, the Green Bay Packers. This is another team that had a great draft. Starting with the first round pick and a great sleeper, and Demarius Randall, the safety, coming out of Arizona State. Now, yes, Morgan Burnett did lead the team in tackles, but I believe with 116. But as far as his cover skills, Randall's displays better cover skills than Burnett, in my personal opinion, even as an upcoming rookie. This kid had displayed great cover skills during his career, and he was a great sleeper for this year's draft. In the second round, they stuck with the defense and still addressed the secondary with cornerback Quentin Rollins out of Miami, Ohio. This was a great pick in the second round. In the third round, they went with the wide receiver out of Stanford, Ty Montgomery. Now, he had a great career, and he even displayed his skills as a return specialist. This could be a great addition to even help out the special teams for the Packers. In the fourth round, they finally went with a linebacker in this one, and they went with the outside linebacker, Jake Ryan out of Michigan. Now, this is an interesting selection. I think they should have tried to go with an inside linebacker in the earlier rounds, but I still think this was a solid pick because of the pickups that they had in the first 3 rounds. In the fourth round, they still picked up a great linebacker, even though he does have some durability issues. Particularly, he had a major injury during his career as a Wolverine, but still bounced back with 112 tackles as a senior. Next up, Brett Hundley in the 5th round, a quarterback out of UCLA. He could definitely learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers, possibly try to make it sign a contract to another team during his career, but for now he could be a good backup for Aaron Rodgers. Next up, Aaron Ripkowski, the fullback out of Oklahoma. This could be a good lead back, but I think he's going to have to fight for that position with John Kuhn. John Kuhn was actually a Pro Bowler for the Vikings and a great player and a well-known player at Lambeau Field, but I still think because he's entering his 10th season, Aaron could definitely have a chance of being that starting fullback for the near future. In the 6th round, Christian Ringo, the defensive end out of Louisiana Lafayette. Now, last season he posted up great numbers, 20.5 tackles for loss to go along with 11.5 sacks last season as a senior. And finally, Kennard Backman, the tight end coming out of UAB. He's 6'3", 258 pounds. Pretty good size at the tight end position, but he's going to be fighting things off with Andrew Corliss, who is the returning starting tight end for the Packers. Now, overall, just like the Minnesota Vikings, I have to give the Green Bay Packers an A-. I love their efforts, I love their picks, and hopefully they could possibly still make it back to the playoffs and possibly make it to the Super Bowl come towards the end of the season. They did a great job in this year's draft. Now, that wraps things up with the NFC North. The next video, I'm going to catch you guys in just a couple of minutes with the NFC South Division. Thank you for watching this vlog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.